If you need to make adjustments to what users have access to what functions, settings pages, etc. within the system, you can do so easily in role permissions. I'm going to open that in a new tab because I want to take note of what a role is within Shjape. So here on Manage Users, you will have a user role. Everyone will have one, and it varies depending on what level of access they need to have. Starting at the top, you'll have admins. Usually you'll have one of these in the system, and an admin role can do everything. They can access every settings page, every record, and do everything that they need to do within the system. Generally, we recommend keeping these down to one or maybe two, just to keep as little hands in that cookie jar as possible, so that settings pages aren't being adjusted willy-nilly by everyone. As you work your way down, you'll get to less and less permissions. So for example, a director would be able to manage a team of people, but not be able to access the entire system to change settings pages. Managers do the same, just a little bit less than a director. Member users and partner users are more intended for people outside of your organization that may need access to the system. Portal users are going to be your light user role. They really can't access any settings pages. They can't call, text, or email. They're mostly in there as like assistants to leave notes, follow up on documents if you're using our customer portal. And then lastly, we have the user role. This is going to be probably your most common role, and it's for the day-to-day users of the system. They don't need to access a ton of settings pages, and they really only need to access records that they are assigned to, but not everything. So as you are getting your team added to the system, you'll want to take note of the role to make sure that everybody is added to the correct role. If not, you can always change it here in Manage Users to adjust that. We're going to jump over into role permissions because this is where everything comes into play. Even though we kind of have preset defined access and roles for everybody, you can always go into role permissions and tweak that as you see fit. We completely understand that even though we set it up a certain way, everybody's business is different, and they're going to want to run those roles differently based on how you intend to use that for your people. So in role permissions, when you open up these different folders, you'll have different sections. You'll have dashboard views, Shjape product access, user profile permissions, feature authorization, and global settings page access. When you click on the different folders, it'll show you what the access is or what the permission is over here on the left. And over here on the right, you'll have a checkbox. If it's checked, that means that that role can access that feature. If it's unchecked, of course, that means that they cannot. So if there is something that you want to make sure they're able to access, or vice versa, if there's something they can access that you want to make sure that they cannot, you'll want to jump into role permissions and just uncheck or check whichever roles need to be adjusted. Again, you'll have dashboard access, today's dashboard. This is if you need to tweak what they can see when they log in on the dashboard up here in the top left. You'll have Shjape product access. This will be if we need to limit Shjape AI, the portal, IP target marketing, etc. You'll notice some of these are grayed out. Admins, of course, you cannot adjust admins, what they can see and do. They can see and do everything. We want to make sure that there's at least one person on the system that has the admin role so that they can see and do everything without being limited. User profile permissions, this will be what they can adjust in their own profile. So if you want to make sure that they can adjust their booking link and custom fields, things like that, but not be able to adjust their contact information, their credentials for LOS integrations or notifications or phone preferences, you can really tailor these as you see fit. Feature authorization will be for different features like call monitoring, the shared inbox, the lead acceptance toggle in the top right, their calling availability. So if they shouldn't be able to turn on and off when they're available for calls, you can limit that here, as well as what actions they can take in bulk. If you want to limit who should be able to do actions in bulk, very easy to do here just based on their role. Lastly, you have global settings page access. So these are not features within the system. This is whether or not that role can access the different settings pages you see over here on the left. By default, admins can see everything and directors can do pretty much everything as well. But as you get lower to managers and users, those settings pages become very, very limited. Again, we don't want them going in and adjusting anything. We want to make sure that that's limited to as few people as possible so that you don't run into access issues down the line and things like that. But that being said, when you are adjusting who can access what, let's say you're checking or unchecking a few of these boxes, down at the bottom, you'll just want to make sure to hit these save permissions so that all of the adjustments that you're making can be saved and adjusted as well. The only other thing to keep in mind is if you are adjusting who can access what, a lot of these take place immediately, but some of them the user has to log out of the system and log back in. So keep that in mind if you're adjusting role permissions and who can see and do what, and the user can still do that thing, have them log out, log back in so that those settings can take effect. For those of you that are admins, if you jump back onto manage users, if you're in role permissions and you're adjusting what everybody can see and do, feel free to go to manage users and you can log in as a user. So if you're making adjustments to the user role, go to a user, hit the three dots, hit login. It's going to take you to their specific login with their settings. So if you're trying to make sure that they only have access to certain settings pages, you can easily verify that just by adjusting it in role permissions and then going into that user and just taking a look at what they can see and access. So as you're making changes, feel free to verify those, and you can easily jump back to your login just by hitting switch login. It'll take you right back to your own. Hopefully this video helps clarify on role permissions. If you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out to help@setshape.com.